And our guest for the day is Neena ma'am. She is a communication catalyst and a public speaking coach. Change your words and change your word. That's what her statement. When communication skills are improved, regular executives are able to contribute more meaningfully in their office meetings. Individuals are able to assess themselves better and deal with unexpected situations better. Nina John is a communication catalyst and public speaking coach. She teaches storytelling for business, public speaking skills for CXOs, upskilling communication for all other professionals. As a keynote inspirational speaker and author, she navigates corporate C's, management tips, tools, and techniques, empowering organizations through mentorship and leadership, both on personal and professional front. He possesses more than 3 decades of experience for communication skills as a corporate trainer and facilitator. He now focuses on communication skills for CISO, the language of leadership. With this short and brief introduction, we welcome you, ma'am, to our Skilling on Saturdays.
Thank you so much, Shivani, and thank you to Skilling on Saturdays for inviting me. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here, and I'm so happy to see so many people here early morning on Saturdays. So, when we're talking about communication for professionals, we're talking about the fact that today, after the pandemic, the work world has turned completely upside down. We're no longer all going at 9 o'clock to the office and coming back at 5 o'clock or at even 10 o'clock, depending on the amount of extra work that we have. We have 2 or 3 different models to choose from. One is the work from the office, one is the work from home, and one is the hybrid model where you work from home, go to office for a few days in the week, or work from the office and work from home for a few days. So each organization has its own norms, and each individual may be allowed a little flexibility in the way they operate. But remember, in this new age, as I call it, you will find that there are so many different things that you have to consider. First of all, remember that it is a world of virtual teams. Your team could be in the next building, in another part of your country, or it could be in another country altogether. So, teamwork, collaboration, understanding technology, all of these are part of the new work paradigm. You have to understand what is the different kind of work that you have to do, what are the parameters you have to offer to the world, and most importantly, you must recognize the fact that you are an individual contributing to the work, so therefore, your communication skills as an individual are what will make you stand out in this world. When we're talking about communication skills, what exactly are we talking about? We're looking at so many different things. We're talking about influencing skills, we're talking about persuasive skills, we're talking about conflict negotiation, we're talking about explaining simple things to our subordinates or new people who come into the office. We're talking about deciphering complex paradigms for a technical audience. We're talking about delivering presentations, whether on a daily basis for your office, a weekly basis, or as with your shareholder meetings on an annual basis. We are all doing presentations. So what do we need to learn before we just say, oh, we all communicate, there's nothing to learn about, I know how to read, I know how to talk, I know everything. So how do we go about that, and what do we do? Let me go into the very basics of communication: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Let me start with reading, because we all get up early in the morning and the first thing we do is pick up our mobiles, start reading our WhatsApp messages, and that's literally the first thing we read every morning. And have you noticed one thing? If it's a long message, we skip it. We say, okay, I will read it later. There's a joke here. There's a story here. Let me read that first. So we never go in depth into anything at all. We think in terms of, all right, what is the other reading I do? From WhatsApp, I would say the maximum most people read is what they have on the internet in terms of maybe a little bit of news, but maybe things like the weather, what's happening in the world, what is Beyonce doing, what is Anil Kapoor doing, what has happened with the recent wedding of Tapasi, and all of these things. So a lot of people are spending time or wasting time on reading unnecessary stuff. If you are a professional, the first thing you need to do is to remember that the more you read, the better your life will become. Reading improves your vocabulary. Reading improves your general knowledge. Reading improves your technical jargon with reference to your particular industry. So I would suggest you should do more in terms of reading technical magazines if possible, at least some kind of technical information and other things. In your social media, between Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I would say LinkedIn provides you the best access to different kinds of information about your industry, upcoming events, and very importantly, who are the experts or thought leaders in your particular field. So reading becomes a very important part of your life. When we're talking about writing, most people are either literally just past the stage of sending SMS to forwarding WhatsApps, not even writing for WhatsApps. Or when they do write a WhatsApp message, it has all kinds of short forms. CU, TYM. These are all the short forms that we're using because we want to be brief, we want to be fast, we want to get on to things. But do you realize this is also reflecting in your emails? As professionals, emails are the most important part of your professional life. Your entire day is consumed with reading emails and answering appropriately. Do you have the relevant information? Are you sending it to the right people? Is your email formatted in an appropriate manner so that when you are reading, you are able to convey everything that you want in the first email itself, rather than having 10 emails coming back saying, what did you say? What did you mean? What do you think? And in emails, I would also caution you that as far as emails are concerned, you also have to observe protocol and etiquette in the way you address the people and in the way you sign off or do all these things. Most organizations have a template and you are expected to follow that. But within that template, you must be sure that your letters or emails are, first of all, clear, crisp, comprehensive, and correct. Please use spell check for all your written communication. But remember, spell check is still like autocorrect. It will give you a lot of mistakes. So reread your communications. Better still, if it's a really important communication, I would suggest you get a human with good English skills to check your mails. Written communication in terms of resumes, in terms of reports, in terms of white papers, in terms of writing articles for your industry, all of these are essential. So for all of these, make sure your writing skills are up to the mark. Some of you may go a little further. You can go in for blogging, and you can also go in for YouTube. Even they are doing a podcast in terms of both, words and in terms of the script, in terms of the vocabulary. For all of these, you need excellent communication skills. So make sure that your blogging and all of these things are really well done. Reading fiction, reading poetry, all of these will build up your skills and help you describe more vividly what is required or explain something in greater detail. You can even write a book after you've finished all of these things in the way I did. My book is actually a compilation of management articles that I had contributed, or articles on communication and leadership that I had written elsewhere and then compiled for this. So that is one way of doing it. The other skills that I would really like to talk about are your listening and speaking skills. Now remember, one of the most underrated communication skills is that of listening. As somebody said, most of the time, we're only listening so that we can interrupt the other person. We want to give answers fast. We want to back answer. We want to prove that we are right. We want to argue. We want to prove that we know everything. In a meeting, in a professional meeting, please, first of all, stay quiet and listen. The more you listen, the more you absorb. And if you want to, I would suggest in all your professional meetings, take notes. When you take notes and you are listening carefully, you know exactly what you are supposed to do after the meeting is over, or if there is any action to be undertaken, what is the action, what is the deadline, who does it have to be, who is tasked with what, and where do they deliver it, when do they deliver it. Over a period of time, you will find this combination of listening and taking notes and being aware of what is happening makes you the most go-to professional in your office. Once you have these sets of notes, you can also document what is required, what has happened, what action you took, and you can prove what can be done or not done. So ensure that you listen carefully, because listening involves so many different things. It involves, one, hearing in terms of the actual physical words. Listening in terms of what is the other person trying to convey. Understanding, what did I get from this? Assessing the impact of the other person's words on your agenda or in anything else. Ensure that you can also analyze what the person has said, and then you can proceed further. Also remember that if you can do all of these things, hearing, listening, analyzing, assessing, then you can give feedback in the best, most constructive way possible. It is very important when you are speaking and giving all of these things to choose your words carefully. A simple example that I can give is your performance appraisal. When somebody says to you things like, oh, You did a very bad job this year. Your whole year's work has gone to waste and you're like so depressed and disappointed. But when that person says, hey, you've done a great job throughout the year, but these are a few areas where I think a little improvement is required, immediately you perk up and you say, okay, this is something I can think about because this is something that will help me and will help the organization. So giving performance appraisals, understanding what the other person has said, and a very simple way of checking whether you have understood or not is very simply asking questions. So even in a telephone conversation, when the conversation is over, simply paraphrase the words that the other person has said and say, excuse me, this is what we discussed. Can I just go through what we have discussed and can I explain to you what I understood and can we check if my understanding is right? So this way the burden is on you, not on the other person. You're not faulting the other person for being in any way this thing. You are saying that, look, I didn't really understand what he said, or look, I want to make it absolutely clear that I have understood and I would like to know whether I have got this down correctly. So when you get that done, you will find that both of you have a better rapport and a better relationship. And believe me, when you are working in teams, the interpersonal relationships, the interpersonal dynamics work much better when you have a rapport between other people. When you do this, you are able to have a smoother working relationship. And then you're able to understand what the other person wants. You are able to put across your point most effectively. And that's what communication is all about. What are my ideas? What are your ideas? Are we able to understand what both of us need? And are we able to put our ideas across to persuade the other person effectively? Are they able to listen to what I am saying? Are they able to understand? Am I able to understand what they are saying? You know, when you have a debate, a formal professional debate, as in, parliamentary system of debating and the British system and American system, there are two teams. One is the team that is for the motion, and the other is against the motion. Now, for example, it is something very simple like all schools should be co-ed or co-education. Now, the people who are speaking for the motion also have to work out in their preparation what is the other team going to say. And therefore, what happens is you have one set of points, the team that is opposing will have one set of points. Together, when you are speaking, you learn to appreciate the other person's viewpoint, you give your viewpoint, and you rebut it. The whole point about debates is that you should have an open mind. When you go to a debate with a closed mind, you are not getting the benefit. The idea of debate, of dissent, of discussion, of democracy is when all of us get together, understand each other's viewpoints, and then put them forward. Only then can we have better ideas. Only then does all this thing about inclusion and diversity and better organizational relationships, better teamwork, better dynamics. All of this is wrapped up in that. So therefore, learn to listen, learn to understand, learn to tweak your own opinion on the basis of facts, figures, and ideas that you have got from other people. That is most important. And from there, obviously, the last one I'm going to talk about is speaking. When do we speak? Where do we speak? How do we speak? It starts at home, of course. We speak to our family, we speak to our friends, we speak in the office to everyone. Now, when we are speaking, and I would like you to remember this, we are all on the mobile from morning till night. When we are having a professional conversation with our peers, subordinates, superiors, vendors, customers, anybody, you need what is called clarity of thought and clarity of speech. Clarity of thought means that you know what you are trying to say and why you are saying it. Clarity of speech means that the other person should understand the words that you are trying to say. Now, very often when we are speaking, we have to remember the fact, as I said, we are today in a global environment. Our customers may be across the world, our teammates may be across the world. On the telephone, is our speech clear to the other person? Is it crisp? Are the words just as much as required? And we are not rambling all over the place, telling stories, explaining, arguing, doing all these things, not letting the other person get a word in edgeways. No. Keep your telephone conversations also crisp, short, and to the point. Let the other person answer. Make sure that your words are clear and your thoughts are clear. So conversations, whether in person or whether over the telephone, need to be tailored according to that. At meetings, make sure that when you go in for a professional meeting at your office, you have all your facts and figures either in your head or in a file or on your mobile or whatever it is, but ready to be produced or to support your argument when you are asking for some. Ensure that whatever has been asked for will be asked for and you can deliver it. At a meeting, let the person who is chairing the meeting do so properly. Answer only when you are called upon to do so. And this is a very, very important part of conference etiquette or Zoom etiquette or online etiquette, whatever you want to call it. Speak only one at a time. As I said, if you are the chair, it is your duty to ensure that all the members that you have called for the meeting get a chance to speak. You have given an agenda, sent an agenda, hopefully well in time. Everyone knows what they are supposed to do, and you can call on people one after the other. This applies, of course, even for physical meetings, but I'm saying today you have to be conscious of both online and offline meetings. So when it's an international meeting, also make sure that you are using the correct terms of address. In India, we tend to overuse the terms I'm sorry, we tend to overuse the terms sir and madam. Internationally, this is not what we're looking at. So make sure that whatever your team is, you know how you are supposed to address them and how you are not supposed to address them. And especially for gentlemen, please remember, ladies are not, you don't ask ladies things like, are you married or whatever, and then say Mrs. or whatever. So all of these things, there's an entire vocabulary now of what is called woke vocabulary. What is the correct vocabulary to use? And you'll find people when they're on LinkedIn or any of these things, they will have in brackets her, his, she, his. So that is very clearly telling you whether they want to be addressed as he or she or they or them. It is professional courtesy on your part to address them the way they have asked to be addressed. So speaking at a very basic level, conversations, telephone conversations, official meeting conversations, all of these are there. As you climb up the corporate ladder, you will find that you also have to do a lot in terms of presentations. When your presentations are good, you will find that you are the one that is invited for training, or you are the one that has to deliver at seminars or represent your organization at industry meetings, any of these places. So when you're going to any of these things, now, for example, each time the audience will be so totally different. So if you are an organization that is sending somebody for campus recruitment, you may have to deliver a presentation about your organization and what it does to the college audience. So here you have an audience that is totally unaware of what your organization does, what your industry does, all of these things. So you have to explain. Now, if you are, for example, a bank executive, you may simply have to explain what does a bank do, what is the difference between retail banking and other banking, and all of those things. When this particular batch of people joins as trainees in your organization, the language you use will include a lot more jargon in terms of this is that you don't say ATM, you explain first this is an automatic teller machine, now referred to as ATM, and explain what it is. Explain current accounts, savings accounts, any of those things. When you're making, as an executive, when you are making a presentation or a quarterly report of your earnings to your office, the language you use will be totally different. Even more so when you have a meeting where you are delivering annual results to your board of directors. The language will be completely different because your organization, the seniors, have a far bigger, wider macro view of the situation rather than you at the lower level. So literally for banking finance professionals, every step of the way, your language will change. And that brings me to another very important point. Improve your language. And as I said in the beginning, change your words, change your world. The better language you use, the more likely you are to be called upon for all these kinds of different occasions, different, anniversaries, or any of the seminars, webinars, all of these things. The more you combine your writing and reading skills, your listening skills, and you are able to put them down comprehensively into a format, for example, for LinkedIn articles, for other articles, you start being acknowledged as an expert in your field. And when you go one step further, you are the kind of thought leader that people will look up to in your field. So make sure that you cover all these different communication skills at every level of your work. Do not wait till you are reaching the top to start reading. In fact, if you look at any of your business magazines, you will find that there is literally every business magazine has a column or a page for what the CEO is reading. And you will find the CEO is reading a wide variety of books and magazines. The books may cover anything from mathematical theory to fiction on, that is making waves of different kinds, all of that. So start reading now because that is the one skill that is going to help you improve. When you're talking about emails, right, let me quickly slip in a small story over here about the impact and effect of your emails. This is a story about two young men. Just for convenience purposes, I'm going to say two young men who wanted to become Catholic priests, all right? You can substitute any religion you want, not a problem at all. So these two young men wanted to be priests, but both of them had this very bad habit of smoking. So no matter what happened, neither of them could kick the habit. So the superior officer or abbot or whatever said, I am fed up of your smoking. You write to the Pope, and if he says, yes, you can smoke, you can smoke. So both these young men wrote to the Pope, who is the highest religious authority in the Catholic Church. But as I said, you can refer to any authority that you want. And the email came back, and to one, it said, yes, you may smoke. And to the other, it said, no, you may not smoke. So the abbot took that and he said, what is this? Show me your original emails. So the original emails, one person had said, Holy Father, I want to be a priest, but I am so addicted to smoking. Can you help me? because I want to know, can I pray while I smoke? And the other one had said, Holy Father, I want to be a priest. I want to dedicate my life to God, but I have this problem. I am addicted to smoking. Is it okay if I smoke while I pray? Now, while I'm talking, it's easy for you to understand. But quickly, can you put in the chat box any ideas of why you think one got the message, yes, you may smoke, and one got the message, no, you may not smoke? Okay, I'm not able to see what's coming in. All right. Priority defined. Exactly. Any others? So, what we're talking about is the fact that both of them sent out an email with the same intention. But the phrasing of words gave the reader an idea about their intentions. So what the reader gets is not what the sender sent. So that is why communications have to be clearly defined, and you need to understand when you are sending a mail, who are you sending the mail to? Is it addressed properly? Is it done clearly and politely? And are you asking for the right thing? Same thing happens when we're talking about delivering a speech in public. Now, when we're talking about communications and public speaking, and everyone thinks I want to be an Obama or Narendra Modi or any of these people, and I want to address hundreds of people and thousands of people, and I want an impact to be created. That's fine. Let's start with smaller stage presence and how do we go on from there. So the first thing you must remember is your actual content. What are you delivering? Why are you delivering that? What is the occasion on which you have been asked to speak? So content, delivery, the time, and the occasion. These are the most important parts of any kind of public speaking. And you need to understand, why am I speaking? What is my audience? What can I do? What is the message I want to convey? Now, in my case, I want to say, the more you practice skilling, upskilling, and reskilling in terms of communication skills, the better your professional life will be. So I want you all to understand that all these aspects of communication skills are part of your daily life, but you must consciously work at improving them. When you read, pick up words from your office correspondence, from your newspaper headlines, from all the different places that you have to improve your vocabulary. Use those words when you are writing or doing all of these things. That is one of the best ways you can have of improving. Learn to listen. This is a world today where technology is playing a huge part. YouTube videos, podcasts, blogs, all of these provide you access where you can listen while you are traveling or doing any of these things. So listen and listen carefully. Choose what you want to listen, but also remember the wider variety of speakers that you listen to, the more your mind will absorb more things, more ideas. And so don't listen. Facebook and all of these things will put us into a narrow silo where we get more and more material of the same kind that we listened to once. You have to make a conscious effort to expand your mind, expand your horizon, expand your perspective. Only then will you get more ideas, be more creative, be more innovative in the way you approach the world. So listen to a wide variety of podcasts, even if you disagree, dislike, or hate the person's ideas, simply to get an idea of how the rest of the world thinks. Listening is a huge part of both your personal and professional life. One more quick story about how, when I was taking a residential program for senior bank officers, two of them used to carpool and come there every day. And they're actually boss and subordinate. That's a term that I don't really like using, but it will help. So he said, "What do you do when you go home?" So the subordinate said, "I listen to my wife." Now, when they repeated this in the class laughed. But boss said, "No, I want you all to listen carefully to what he has to say." See, this gentleman comes home from the office, sits at home and listens to what his wife has to say. She doesn't have anything much to say. This is what happened in the morning. This is what, I went to buy groceries. This is what happens. The milkman came. The school fees happened. This have to be paid. This happened today. That happened. Nothing very major. The small things that build up our life. But she has been at home the whole day. When her husband comes home, there is someone for her to listen and for her to vent. They have a cup of tea together and they are fine. When that family grows, the children will have a safe sounding board for when they can talk, a safe place to discuss everything. In the office, this particular person is the one that they call when what we call an irate customer walks in. Now remember, all of us walk into a bank only when, or any service organization, when we are hopping mad with the bank and its service. And so we don't walk in, we march into that office. When they see an irate customer, the whole bank just sends this particular person. He calls this customer, takes him to the conference room, sits him down, gives him a cup of tea, listens to what he has to say, and helps to resolve the complaint. Would it surprise you to know that he is one of the senior most executives in that bank now, simply because of his listening skills? So listening is a very, very important part of your professional life. It can help you in your personal life. And all of these things together are what will help you. So to come back to my original premise, remember, today is a new world where you're working across virtual teams. You have to have some command or some idea of technology. One is not only how to use online platforms such as Zoom, Team, or anything else that's coming. The other is in terms of being able to use PowerPoint, Canva, even AI, chat GPT inputs for your presentations. You need to understand teams, because none of us works alone, and it is only when we work together that all of us can proceed and work further. You have to understand teamwork and interpersonal dynamics, because that is what will help you influence others, persuade others, diffuse conflicts, help you create a better working atmosphere and produce the best results for you and your organization. And most importantly, your communication skills should be the ones that take you individually up your professional ladder. To come back to my tagline, change your words, change your world. And with that, I'm leaving the floor open for questions and answers. Anyone would like to ask me a question? I would love to help.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It was great.
Welcome.
Fantastic. And the thing that you said, most important in listening.
Yes, sir. Sorry, my fan was making too much noise. Yes, sir.
Okay. The thing that you said, the listening is most important. That was the best part.
Thank
People
you.
think more you talk, more you communicate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
Anybody have questions? Ma'am, what is the C-suite?
What is?
C-suite. You written a C-S-U-I-T language, C-suite language.
Can you kind of put that in the chat,
Alphabet
please?
C, ABCC, suite, S-U-I-T-E.
S-U-I-T-E.
Yeah.
S-U-I-T-E.
Yeah.
Oh, C-suite. Oh, C-suite is basically, or everyone who is, chief executive officer, chief financial officer, chief, basically the word chief is there as C. So normally in any organization, the top floor is reserved for C-suite. It's called, this is where the chief technology officer, the chief financial officers, chief executive officer, all of these, they're on, the top floor. So that's literally called the C-suite. So somebody asked about using complex words. Now, it really depends on your organization and the occasion in which you're speaking. So use simple words to express your feelings, but when you want to impress your audience, use complex words, buzzwords, jargon. As I said, C-suite is one way of doing it. The other is, for example, during this, we will now go in for a structured leisure time. And everyone is, what is this structured leisure time? We're going on a break. That's all. So you can make things sound very, very exciting and make them sound very complex. And you can have, there's another famous example. Yes. Twinkle, scintillate, miniature asteroid. Okay. Let me repeat that. Scintillate, miniature asteroid. That's the complex version. The simple version is twinkle, twinkle, little star. So you can have any amount of complex words if you want to just impress your audience and show how great you are. And in India now, it's like, you want to show that you're a Shashi Tharoor, go ahead and use these words. So Shashi Tharoor is the Indian ISI standard for English vocabulary. Anyone else?
But madam, Shashi Tharoor, confuses a lot. People get, confused. The kind of, the terminology he uses, sometimes, we find it difficult, to find out, in Cambridge dictionary.
Yeah.
You have to express them and impress.
Yes, but see, that is exactly the point that I was trying to make, that when you read more and more, you will understand, when somebody uses a lot of complex words in conversation, if you have read at least a little more than just your WhatsApp and at least your newspaper and magazines, then you're able to follow what they're saying. Another, I would recommend people should actually read your newspapers, even if you're doing it on the net. And newspapers like Times of India. The Hindu is actually the newspaper that IAS trainees use for improving their vocabulary. And I would strongly recommend two things. One is their middle page, the op-ed and the middle page, and also their sports writing. You will find that, basically they're trying to create in words the picture of what happened during the sports match or whatever event it was the day before. So they are using words to describe what you already saw visually on the television screen. So you can improve your vocabulary vastly by doing that. Another simple technique I would like to give you is read comics like Asterix. Right? Now, when you read comics like Asterix, you will find that all of these, all the names, all the terms are actually a play on words. Now, Asterix is what you use in your punctuation marks. There's getafix, there's all kinds of other things. So when you start reading those and you start understanding them, your vocabulary improves and you'll thoroughly enjoy stuff. So I would recommend you all to start by reading simple books and carry on from there, because the more reading you do, the better it is. And it's easier. So let me market my book. My book is Navigating Corporate Seas. It's a collection of articles. So each article is not more than 1.5 pages. It covers communication, it covers leadership, it covers how to send emails, how to write emails, how to speak on the telephone, how women should be treated in the office, what are the different current events. So it's literally, I think it's very simple language, but really it's a good starter for people who want to know about office life and how you go through an office life and how you improve yourself as far as communications is concerned. It's there on Flipkart, it's there on Amazon, navigating corporate seas. So that is there. Yes. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Anyone?
The one thing yes, sir.
No, I'm asking anybody has any questions.
Yeah, see, always feel free to ask questions. Most people hesitate saying that, oh, I have a very simple question, or people will think it's a very stupid question. 10 other people are dying to ask the same question. I'll be so happy that you asked, and they'll say, oh, you were brave enough to ask that question. So feel free to ask the question, even if you think it's a very simple question and everybody else knows it, only I don't know it. So go ahead.
Madam,
yes,
if you think that your question is very stupid, it is the most important question for many of them.
Exactly. Ask questions. Feel free. Don't feel afraid to ask.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Madam, we want to motivate team members. So 10-15 times we have praised them. We have told them to do a particular task. Still, if they don't do, how to communicate?
Well, first of all, there has to be deadlines. Both ways. I think the task should be explained very clearly, and you also need to explain how that task fits into the larger organizational picture. So, because most people think, oh, I just have to do this today. Now, in an organization, or just doing accounts is the same. But unless you do the accounts and unless you can build up the balance sheet, the organization can't even present its accounts at the end of the year. So every part of what you do, explain the macro stand, explain why it is important to the organization for you to do this task. How does each task dovetail into the next task? That is the thing. And obviously, combination of carrot and stick in this thing. In terms of if you do a good job, you get rewarded at least with verbal praise, if nothing else, and you show everyone within the organization, see, the so and so did such a great job. So that is the thing. And criticize in private. Call the person inside and say that, look, this is not up to the mark. This is what you have to do. This is our organization standards, and this is how it should be done. So somebody, I think, asked about improving diction. Yeah, one tip that I would also like to give to all of you is reading aloud. So what you need to do while reading aloud is every day, just take one. As I said, I will always recommend newspapers. So even if you're reading the newspaper on your mobile or whatever, that's also fine. Read aloud to yourself, just one paragraph. Okay, say maximum of 1.5 or 2 minutes. Record that. At the end of a week, listen to yourself and see how you have improved. Then you will find there is distinct improvement. And one of the things that I recommend again is pronounce each word. Another thing that I would recommend is listen to television news with your back turned to the TV. Because the TV always has so much, the scroll underneath, below, all kinds of things. There are ads on the side. There's all kinds of banners and all. Turn around or don't look at the TV. Just listen to what they're saying. Another thing that you find that television anchors or any of these things will never go stumble, fumble, I think, and all of those things. So improve your way of talking as well, simply by listening to them and learning to speak like them. So there again, sports commentators, excellent vocabulary, excellent way of delivering. And by and large, they don't repeat themselves. Sometimes I get so irritated with your television anchors. So today we are here in front of the quarters, and then we're going to listen to this thing. We're waiting for the prisoners to come out. We're waiting for so and so to come out, and here we are waiting outside. They're repeating the same thing for 5 minutes. Learn to use different vocabulary for the same thing. We are waiting outside over here. This is what has happened so far. We will let you know as soon as something happens. And while this event, when this event happens, we will let you know what is happening, etc., etc. Use different words. You're saying exactly the same thing than others, but still, whatever it is, it can be done.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Sorry, I was on mute. Madam, there is
Yes,
a good question from Hari Kishan ji.
Ji.
How one can get rid of fear factor while communicating?
Three techniques. Practice, practice, practice. So also, we actually have a member of an organization called Toastmasters. So Toastmasters is a forum for public speaking and leadership. You can go to our website, www.toastmasters.org. So in that thing, you will find there's a drop-down menu for find a club near you. Now, a lot of clubs are online, so you can join online also. And you can, if there's a club that's there near you, where you stay, you can physically attend that also. So in Toastmasters, we give practice in public speaking. So when you enter, most people are like petrified of public speaking and all of that. But once you have enough practice, giving first a couple of 1 minute, 2 minute speeches, then 5 minute speeches. Now people are doing professional speaking. A lot of our members have actually taken another path and become full-time stand-up comedians. So they're making a living out of their speaking skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that depends entirely on speaking, nothing else.
Yes. And instinct. You have to think instinct.
Yes. So practice. Once you start practicing, you're fine. Yeah. You're welcome, sir.
Somebody's asked, can you suggest a book to read for beginner? I want to develop habit of reading.
See, what are the interests you have? I mean, any particular subjects? See, if you have...
Shivanji Mittal.
Yes. So any particular hobby you're interested in or anything you're interested in particular? Any passion for some thing? See, you can literally start with all the different... there's lots of books. If you have a physical library near you, I would suggest just walk into that library, pick up a couple of books, and then you'll just carry on. So you have to get into that habit of reading by picking up books. There's no one book. I mean, there are so many hundreds of books.
There is no one book. Just
There's
start
no
reading.
one. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah, there are book reading clubs. Book reading clubs I would not recommend to start off with. You'll just get scared because the other people have read so many hundreds of books that you haven't. Oh, ICAI Bangalore has Toastmasters Club. Okay. So those of you who are interested can join that. And as I said, we have all over the country or all over the world. We have in 142 countries. So you can actually, once you become a member of Toastmasters, you can attend Toastmaster countries across the world. I'm a member of an online club which is based in Canada. And within our club, we have members from 22 countries. So, yes, ma'am, I also thought of saying comics first, but a lot of the comics, the English is not so good. So if you're using it to improve your language, I would not recommend. The Asterix is the only comic I would recommend if you want to start reading by using comics. The other would probably perhaps be, the Dennis the Menace. All of these are okay. but you have to be a little careful. But and the other one is Hobbes, Hobbes, Hobbes comics. So those are also, yeah, for starting. Just find whatever interest. Are you interested in photography? Pick up a book on photography and start reading it. And in fact, those kind of technical journals are excellent for improving your communication skills because they use excellent language, and you learn so much more about whatever your passion is. If you're into bird watching, or if you're into photography, if you're into fashion, pick up something that is related to that, and you start reading it, enjoying it, learn more about your subject, and carry on from there. And read as many storybooks. We used to be told, don't read storybooks because you have to get 100% in your chemistry, physics, and maths, but or commerce. But I would recommend read as much fiction as you can, and go on. Literally look at, for example, classics, and start with children's classics if you want. When we were kids, we used to read Enid Blyton. So that is one way of reading. There are plenty of children's books, but it really depends on what you're interested in. And I start off with one, and then you can move on to detective fiction, crime thrillers, lots of things. How to reduce Indian accent, especially
Indian
working.
accent.
Yeah. So as I said, don't worry about the Indian accent. What I would say is speak slowly and clearly. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about the accent because
Yeah.
internationally people are used to different accents. As I said, this online club that I go to, there are 22 members from 22 countries. So there's French, African, Caribbean, American, Indonesian, all kinds of accents. So, and once you join one of these clubs, you also learn to speak more clearly. The accent is not the problem. It's only the what we call the enunciation. How clearly are you speaking? So speak a little slowly if you have an international conference call or international clients.
So they can properly understand you, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so like when we speak, we basically, do thinking first in mind and then we speak. So that lag, how to overcome that?
That's okay. That's how we all speak. See, our problem is we are thinking in our mother tongue, translating it, and then speaking in English.
Yeah.
So that is where the lag comes. But it's just a question of practice. Once you start speaking a little faster, you will automatically speak as required.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So practice. Thank you.
Yeah, practice.
Madam, can you list down
Simple.
5 parameters, vital parameters, priority wise, to improve, effective communication? Although you have covered, the entire gamut of communication, right from the beginning, but then can you prioritize, 3 or 5, vital factors that can help us, in improving the effective communication? Yeah.
One is reading. All right. Okay. Earlier, I used to, when we had these weekly magazine libraries and things like that, there's a library down the road. So I used to literally read 2 newspapers. So one was Times of India. One was Hindu, one was Times of India. And since my husband also had Economic Times supplements are one of the best things you can have. You get excellent information about industry trends in every industry and every segment of every industry. The language is great. So I would strongly recommend reading those kind of things. Economic Times supplements or other things. The other Hindu Daily, I would say, and magazines. So if you have, the ICAI journals, all of those things, read through the kind of things that you have. And as practice, do what we used to do, which is write a summary of that article. So,
Yes.
The summary should be like about 1/3 of what the original article was, so that if I'm sending it to you, I'm saying, look, read this article because, and then this is the article, and then you go back and read the original. So writing practice is very, very important. So the better you write makes a lot of difference to your emails, to the structuring, to the format, to the ideas that you're conveying. For that, writing, physically writing, or using a mobile or whatever, a laptop or whatever is comfortable for you, literally compose and write stuff. So that is also important. The third, as I said, listening. When I say listening, as I said, again, if you've listened to a podcast, try and write down in 4 or 5 sentences what you learned from that podcast. So immediately you are listening more carefully, you're remembering what is being said, and when you write it down, you are putting it down in your own words. And speaking, I would say take as many opportunities as you can to speak in public, because the more you practice, every time you have something to do, to deliver, you will be collating all your ideas into the amount of time that is there, and therefore you can do that accordingly. So reading, writing, speaking, listening, all of these very, very essential to practice. It was Alvin Toffler who said the illiterate of the 21st century is not the one who cannot read and write. It is the one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Relearn. Yes, yes. Very nicely said. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very
Thank
nice. Basic is unlearning first to learn something.
Yes.
Very nice. Thank you.
The unlearning is very vital. So then only we can learn, new things.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
it is difficult to, live in our own world, thinking that, I know. Yes. Only when we start, unlearning things, we can learn new things. Yes. Very nicely said. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Another example I can give you of that is learning to drive. All of us learned on manual ambassador cars with hand gears. Then we got to floor gears. Now with electric cars, we have to unlearn that again and relearn this.
No, about driving, it reminds me of, one saying, most of us, we think, we know driving well, but, that one who is, anticipates, others' mistakes, he's a good driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ma'am, one thing is that when you're driving, every day you understand something new because you have learned something and you have forgotten. And again you do a mistake. Again you learn. So same with life. Same with everything.
Going
Okay,
back to
madam, somebody has given a suggestion of reading Reader Digest and Speaking Tree. How is it for you?
Reader's Digest is very good. And
Your language is
Reader's
good.
Digest, you also have beautiful anecdotes over there. For example, there are family stories, there are service officers and their things. Laughter is the best medicine. All of those are excellent. You can use them for storytelling during your speeches, right? And again, you will find quizzes in terms of this thing. So Reader's Digest, I don't see very many people reading the Reader's Digest now. That is, I don't see much access to it, but it's an excellent thing. Even if you go to an old Raddiwala and find old copies, that's great. National Geographic used to have fabulous articles. So all of those are there. The earlier Femina and other things I would recommend for reading purposes. Yeah. So somebody's asked, how do you read? If you're not used to reading, first you will find it difficult, or you will find that the more you read, the faster you read. And very importantly, the faster you can understand, comprehend, and reply. So for your emails, the longer the email is, so every day, when you practice reading, as I said, even if you're reading the newspaper for 5 minutes every day and recording it and going through all the headlines and all, at the end of 1 week, you will literally be able to measure how much faster you can read, and it will be reflected in your work because you can go through your daily mails much faster, and you will have anything from 20 to 30% more productive days in terms of literally office correspondence. So the more reading and the more writing you do, the better it is for you.
Madam, I liked
Yes.
your fantastic suggestion, of, listening to news with your back, to the TV. It's really fantastic. No, I liked it,
Welcome.
Other we get, confused, we are focusing, on what the newsreader is saying, and, a lot of flashes, here and there, you get confused. I think, it is a very fantastic, good suggestion of, listening to the news with your back, to the TV. Yeah.
And again, if you listen to just CNN or BBC for just about 5 minutes, more to get that accent and understand pronunciation from different angles,
Yeah.
that also you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Very good suggestions. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, ma'am, and earlier we used to hear that radio news, DD news, or like BBC news from radio. So these days we have podcast and other varieties of things. So that
Correct.
is so very good.
When I was in school, my friend was a cricket addict. So what she used to do is she'll turn the TV on for the picture, turn that volume off, and put the radio on for the commentary.
Yeah. In fact, we used to do that. Yes. Yeah. Because, that time, we had, excellent commentators, like, I don't
Exactly.
remember the names now. Yeah. We had, excellent commentators, we used to switch off not switch off this one, put the sound, in silent mode of
Yes.
TV, and radio, we used to keep it on. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that is because TV is a visual medium.
Yes.
So the TV commentator does not need to tell you this is a sixer. Okay.
Yeah.
But the radio commentator will say, "Oh, that was, that delivery was a yorker, and this was a great sixer. It's gone over the boundary. It's done this. It's done that." So that excitement in the voice itself, that voice modulation, adds to what the picture is that you can see in front of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now it is not that good. Now the radio commentary is not that good. The quality is not that good.
Yeah.
Basically, they have to explain where the fielder is standing, how he's standing, what he's doing. Superb, superb.
Jeff Boycott and all, right?
Yeah, Jeff Boycott was the one of the good commentator, Vijay Merchant. And then, I think, one person, I don't remember his name. He was also very good, very good commentator. You just feel like, listening to him, his commentary.
Exactly. Right. Any other questions?
I think there's no.
Thank you, madam,
No,
for excellently covering, the entire gamut of, effective communication. Effective and communication. Beautifully you have covered. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is very much needed. Communication is the most important skill in any work, business, job, anywhere. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks. It was excellent session.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, we'll end here. Thank you very much for everybody, all of you for attending. And thank you, ma'am, again. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.